talk about Teams, our crisis communication power platform. So we'll have Abby Quinn and then Catherine McSweeney, and then Mitch Jackson will go into Windows Virtual Desktop. So I'll go ahead and pass it on along to you, Abby, and we can kick it off with Teams. Throughout the time, just feel free to drop questions in the chat, and we'll be checking that periodically and bringing it up to address that. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. I just want to make sure everyone can see my screen. Can I get a green light?
You're good to go.
Awesome. Okay, I just want to start off by saying, hey guys, I just want to let you know that I am currently puppy sitting for 4 dogs right now for friends who are kind of in a situation where they're working longer hours. And my plumbing stopped working this morning. So I have a plumber coming to visit, and you might hear the dogs, but I will try to go on mute as quickly as possible to kind of alleviate any noise we might hear. But as Alex said, my name is Abby Quinn. I am a Federal Customer Success Manager. Some of you may know me and have seen a training from me. Some of you may not. Today, I will be doing a brief kind of Teams demonstration overview in regards to things that I think are really relevant as far as being our end users used to being in an office space who are transitioning to more of a work from home, teleworking kind of situation. So I will be briefly touching on chat functionality. If you guys are currently in your Teams environment, I will be doing an overview of some of the features on your left-hand side in that menu bar, as well as going over some of the details within the on the right-hand side where your avatar is and your initials, to go over a little bit about settings and notifications. If you do have questions, please feel free to put them into the chat. I have some people helping answer questions. I do ask that everyone stays on mute just for the sake of we're recording this, and hopefully it will be able to be consumed at a later date for those of you that maybe aren't able to stay on for the entirety of the call. So if you do have questions, put them in the chat. I'll answer as we go, and my colleagues will answer and help me out. Alex, Catherine, please feel free to keep me honest. If there's something that you want to draw attention to, don't let me forget about it. So with that, I will just jump in. For demonstration purposes, y'all, this is a demo environment. As you can see, I am in Teams, but you can see my browser. So there's a little bit of limited functionality, but I am in a government community cloud environment. So all the limitations and features that are available, you'll see here. And if something isn't available in the browser, I will let you know. So I'm just going to briefly go over chat. It is relatively self-explanatory. This is going to be similar to your Skype for Business functionality with chat. You're capable of doing one-to-one chats as well as one-to-many, referred to as group chats. This is going to be a space for you to share, where you work with the people that you work with the most. And for the sake of the demonstration, my name is this mod administrator person. Got a little echo. And then I have a colleague on the other end, Johanna, who is going to help us kind of see what it looks like whenever you're in a chat environment. So let's see if Johanna is there. If I wanted to pull up a chat or make a new chat, I can click this little dialog box with the pin in it that says new chat. And I can type in Johanna's name here, and I can begin my message. Something to note here is when you are in this regular old message bar here, clicking the enter button will trigger it to send automatically, similar to Skype for Business. However, if you click the little A with the paintbrush, that takes you to a formatting window where you can actually do more of like a paragraph style. I'm so bad at coming up with examples on the fly, so we're just you can click enter and it just takes you to another line. I can click send here, and we'll see if she's online, if she's able to hear that. I do ask that everyone goes on mute. I appreciate it. Oh, there it is. Clever. You can see when someone is typing to you, those 3 dots appear, similar to iMessage functionality, or if you're used to using social media, it works that way as well. You'll notice that Johanna's messaging is up here, and this might be very critical as you guys migrate to a working from home environment. You can actually pin conversations, because what'll happen is as chronologically as you go through new chats and new conversations, they're going to go, they're going to go to the bottom of your chat panel here. But if Johanna is someone that I work with constantly, I can click on the ellipses here and I can click pin. In this case, she's already pinned, so I would click unpin and pin her right back. This is great functionality just so that if there is someone in your work group that you talk to all the time, you can keep them here. Also, for people who really like to stay organized within their workday, you can organize your chat panel this way. Another feature here that you can do to help you stay organized is, let's say that this budget team group chat, I can actually hit the ellipses here and I can hit hide if I become less active or I know that they've got it going, they've got it working. I don't necessarily need to be as involved with that. I can click hide. A question we get is, can you delete a chat completely? And that functionality is not available in the chat panel. What you can do is hide or mute. That was a question we got a lot last week. So I just wanted to touch on that. In the case of potentially needing to, let's say Johanna and I are working on, I'm 1, 2, 3, she's 4, 5, 6. I need to add 7, 8, 9. You can actually go up here within the chat and you can click on adding a new person. It's like 2 people with a plus sign. And I can start to add a name here that will allow me to, let's say Casey needs to be involved. So does Bob. These are real fun names, right? Got Paula, who needs to be involved as well. I can add them to a group chat here and it'll make a whole new chat. And I will say, again, I'm not being very creative. There's 1, 2, 3. Let's say that in this case, one of the great things about Teams we have enabled is the ability to co-author and file share with documents. And that might be something you're actively working on communications within your team as new guidance comes out, as we're going through this experience right now in the world. This little paperclip down here is the attach button, and it works just like an Outlook. Whenever you're attaching something to an email, you can upload from your OneDrive or from your computer. And that way, what you can do is if you were to add another person, let's say I added a file, but I needed to add one more person, I need to add Diego. You'll see here that we have actually more options. You can include chat history, you can not include chat history, or you can include chat history from a certain number of days. That allows you to not necessarily recreate the wheel. You can say, hey, Diego, familiarize yourself with the stuff above. If you have any questions, let us know. So we'll go ahead and add him. And you would just select adding the chat history for him. So that's great. You can actually kind of allow people to see things that have already started for the week. I know that with things going crazy right now and people being constantly added to project teams, that this is a really helpful feature. I can actually name the group name, just like in iMessaging, you can rename it. Let's go crisis mode on point. There we go. I can name it whatever I want. And that way I know, okay, hey, this is a group chat. It's not just a one-on-one chat like this one with Johanna. I'm going to pause there and go check and see if we have any questions in the panel that I need to answer. Okay. Nothing that is.
We have one question about how a team can share a team calendar. So I figured you were going to get into calendars.
Yep, I will address that whenever I go to calendars, and absolutely happy to answer that question for sure.
And then another question is, where are the chats stored?
Oh, great question. So that's a little bit of detail here. Whenever you are working in a one-on-one environment, so if I'm here with Johanna, all of these chats are going to be persistent. They don't go away. So you can see that I've got, and depending on your agency's policy, it can store from anywhere from 24 hours to 30 days within the Teams client, but everything is going to be stored on the back end in OneDrive for Business if it's a one-on-one chat. If it is a group chat like crisis mode here, where I have more than 3 or more than one person besides myself in the chat, it's going to be stored on SharePoint Online behind the scenes. Everything is discoverable. Basically, we got feedback saying, it sucks that Skype always deletes chats and we can't really necessarily remember what we talked about the week before or where did files go whenever we share them with people through Skype. So we incorporated that functionality into chat in Teams. So one-on-one chat, OneDrive, multiple people involved, that's going to a SharePoint. And I'll go into a little bit more detail behind Teams and SharePoint interaction whenever we go to the Teams button in our menu bar. I won't spend too much more time here in the chat area, but just so you know, I did mention that your files are going to be stored in the chat. And just for easy recall, this up here is going to be our tab bar, and you can have various different tabs available here. But one thing that is created by default whenever you're in a chat is this chat tab here, which is our conversation, as you can see. Also the Files tab, which is going to have everything that we've sent to each other via OneDrive or even our personal computer, is all going to be shared here. I can actually, and Johanna, if you don't mind going into our chat and clicking on sample budget with me, I'll show a little bit of what it looks like if two people are in the same document on Teams. You would click on it. You can edit this within your desktop, or you can edit it in the browser. It gives you those options. I just chose to simply keep it going through Teams. This is what it would look like if I was just viewing the document, but I'm going to go ahead and click edit here. This little arrow is where you could open up different options depending on your needs. If you click edit within Teams, it will take you to a very similar browser experience. So all your functionality that would be able to that you'd be able to use in PowerPoint online, you would be able to utilize here in the Teams client. And I'm here. You can also tell, oh, there she is. Johanna Lawrence is editing right now. Something to note is the original creator of the document ultimately holds the permissions for a document. So since I was the original creator, I'm the one who can allow people to access this link by sharing it, or I can completely lock the document if I need to. And that would all take place at the document level. So within my own desktop Excel, I would be able to shut this document down if I determined all the changes were ready to go and nothing else was needed. So you can see actually Johanna is making changes in real time right now. I can hover over her initials right here and her full name appears. And as she makes changes, if she wants to change that 700 to 900, I can see her do that, which is pretty amazing as far as real time. You can have multiple people in here. I've had several colleagues working on the same document with no latency issues. Let's say that I wanted to make sure that she knew I needed her to double check something. I can go up to the little chat window and it takes me right back to our one-on-one chat that you guys just saw. And I'm going to ask her to please double check row 21. And Johanna, can you give me a reaction to that message? I say reaction because one of the options given through Teams is you are able to hover over, oh, see, thumbs up, and a notification just showed up. You're able to hover over a message, and this ellipses allows you to do more options. And these little reactions are a great feature for Teams because how long do people, especially new to their career, spend on, do I need to reply to this? Do I need to let someone know I read it? The thumbs up and the heart and the laughing emoji kind of allow for that. Hey, I got this. We're good to go. So I can see that she gave me a thumbs up, means I know she read it. And I'm positive she's going to double check on row 21. So I can let her know, great, sounds good, the document's free to go. And I can exit out just by clicking on the chat window again. And as you can see, it saves in real time. Version history is also saved. So if you were to open this document in the desktop app Excel, you would be able to restore different version histories. Let's say that someone made a bunch of edits the night before and you did not want any of those edits to happen. You can restore the document to its original, or you can restore it to the way that it was the night before. All of that can take place in the browser itself. So, Alex, how are we doing on questions?
We are doing good. We do not have any questions
Awesome.
Right now.
I know I'm blazing through this stuff, so let it process. And if anything pops up, we can always go back. Just going through a little bit more, in every chat that you have, you're going to have an organization panel. And since this is a demo environment, there's not any information here, but whatever is present in your Active Directory, such as the hierarchy of Johanna in the department, who her manager is, what her title is, all of that is going to be available here in this organization button. Activity is kind of like the See Friendship option in Facebook. You can kind of see what we've done recently together. We've collaborated on a document, joined a team together, posted something in the same channel. We would be able to see that. If we mention each other, we can see that here. This is an example of when to use this plus tab button. Let's say that Johanna and I were constantly working on sample budget every week, and we knew that we had to update it daily or weekly. You can actually select this plus sign. And right now in GCC, this should populate with all of our Office 365 tools. And you would be able to select one of these applications and upload a document here that would pin that active document to your tabs. Another great way to just alleviate, where did this go? Where did I store this? You can keep things up here and keep everything nice and tidy. If I needed to talk to Johanna immediately, you'll see that I can video conference her or call her through Teams. Those two buttons are always going to be present. If I was in a group chat, like our crisis mode chat over here, I can do the same thing here. And that would be like a group FaceTime. It would actually ping to everyone who was in the group chat and they'd be able to join, or call them and they would also, again, be able to join. As you can see, we've got a chat here. So we've got our chat here and we've got files if there were files that had been shared. And I can add more tabs just like you saw in that one-on-one chat. So pretty self-explanatory. As far as functionality goes, you'd always, I say, when in doubt, hover over the ellipses, because if you don't know where something is, it's probably hiding in this ellipses. There are GIFs and emojis and stickers, which are part of the reason Teams was created, was to help emphasize rich messaging and tone. Also keeping morale up, especially in virtual teams, especially during this time whenever a lot of us are transitioning to a position where we're not necessarily used to not having our water cooler talk or our fun interaction with our colleagues. GIFs and emojis and stickers are a great way to help your colleagues kind of see what you're talking about or see what your tone is or lighten their day. And these are all agency-wide moderated. You can have strict, moderate, or unrestricted, and they typically still are professional, even if it's a little bit loose on the restrictions. Any questions about chat? I'm going to head into Teams if we're good to go.
Yeah, so we have a few questions. We have one is files are stored on OneDrive as well.
Yes, in a one-on-one chat. But if you're with more than one other person, if it's a team or if it's a chat, they were stored in SharePoint.
Okay. And then can Teams call regular phones?
So it depends on the way that your Teams is set up, Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but you do, if your agency has enabled dialing, that you will have this call button and it'll take you to a keypad here, which in my demo tenant, I don't have that ability, but you would be able to type it in right here. There'd be like a keypad. So the answer is yes, but you also, anyone who has Teams can make a Teams call.
And then when is chat going to support users outside of your organization in GCC? Not sure if we have. We can always send a roadmap into the chat.
Well, and that's also going to be agency wide. Your agency may not allow guest access to chat. Chat is very heavily focused on internal correspondence. I can show whenever we get into meetings what that experience would look like, even if you have an external person on the team. You'll be able to, they'll be able to have a browser experience. They don't have to be licensed for Teams to join a meeting if they're not in your organization.
Hey, Abby, quick pause. We have a number of government agencies that currently do external chat as well as voice today. We added the feature a little over a year and a half ago to GCC.
Awesome. Thanks, Mitch. Yeah, and it will just depend, as far as I know, Mitch, correct me again if I'm wrong, it will depend on the agency itself if they allow that access, right?
That's correct. It is up to
Yep.
Teams policy, but the Federation bridges are all there.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say, we talk to people, but we're in commercial. But anyways, thanks, Mitch. Alex, any more questions on chat?
That is all for now.
Awesome. Okay, guys, the plumber just got here, so the dogs might get, yep, the dogs might get a little loud. So I'm going to just keep going. Alex, if it gets too loud, let me know. All right, so let's get to what I like to call the meat and potatoes part of Microsoft Teams. And that's going to be your Teams icon. Excuse me, I'm about to get really repetitive. There's Teams, there's Microsoft Teams, so just bear with me. So basically your team, think of it like your work group, the people that you are constantly, in the office with, talking to, working on projects with. Your team is like the over-encompassing umbrella of the people that make your day-to-day work life happen. That's going to mean this overarching team. So depending on your agency's restrictions on creation of teams or not, or lack thereof, you will be able to create a team by going down here. You'll see in the bottom left-hand corner of whenever you select the Teams icon, it should pop down here. You'll see join or create a team. And when I select this, it takes me to a page where every public team in my environment or in my industry or in my organization would be viewable here. So you can tell, again, this is a demo environment. If there were a bunch of public teams, I would be able to see them here. I'm going to just show briefly how you would create a team. It's this purple button here, create team. If you knew the name of a team or if you had a team code, you would enter it here or here. And then for any public team, you'd be able to simply click join. For any private team, you would get a button that says request. And then that, I'll explain that a little bit more right here. So let's say I want to create a team. You can either build a team from scratch or create them from an already existing group on Office 365. I'm going to select build a team from scratch. And you'll see, I think in everybody's environment, there's this little what's a team. There's some little prompts within Teams itself that help you kind of navigate. And I'll give a few resources whenever I'm finished on a little bit more about that. So I'll build a team from scratch. There are two types of teams. Really, there's three. I don't have a lot of people who make a bunch of org-wide teams, but I guess in this climate right now, it would not be a horrible idea if you guys are putting out a lot of bulletins every day for the entire organization in regards to what we're currently facing right now. But the most popular are going to be private or public. Private, obviously, you need permission to join. Essentially, that would mean if you requested access, a trigger would happen where the person who owns that team would get an email and they would either grant access or reject access for you to join that team. Public is pretty self-explanatory as well. There's no lock on it. Anyone can join that team. This is going to be a little bit more social potentially, or if you're making things really quickly and you want people to be able to join the team very quickly, public is a great option. I'll click public just for demonstration. Give your team a name. Let's call it Teams Training for the Finance Department. Sure. So I'm going to click create. I can give a description if I want. I'm going to click create. And what is happening behind the scenes is a SharePoint site is being created on the back end. You can tell, see, I'm not going to SharePoint. It's not taking me to SharePoint, but it is giving me the option to add members straight away. So of course, I'm going to add our girl, Johanna. Oh. Okay, let's add Diego and Casey. And when I add them, they're going to all get an email that says you've been added to a team. And that basically just lets them know, hey, you're a part of this. And they've all been added to that SharePoint site as well. Now, by default, every team is created with a general channel. And I like to give this analogy. Think of way back when, elementary school, middle school, whenever we all had trapper keepers and binders. Like your binder held everything you had for that school day. And then within that binder, you had subdividers, math, science, history, English. But then within those subdividers, you had homework, tests and quizzes, notes. So there were, think of those subdividers as your channels, and think of each team as a divider. So what's happening in the back end is SharePoint's creating a team site every time you make a team. And then every time you create a channel, there's going to be a SharePoint folder that houses all the documents and correspondence that happens within this channel. So for example, I'm going to go to this ellipses here. And I'm going to go to the ellipses on the team overall. And it gives me the option to add a channel. So I want to add work from home resources as a channel. When I click add, what that did was it created on the back end of SharePoint, it created a SharePoint folder. And so every general channel comes with a team itself. No one has any jurisdiction over that. And I would suspect in the next 2 weeks, what we will have is private channels. Something to note is if you are a member of a team, you have access to all of the content that is shared within these channels. So if I am a member of the Teams Training for Finance team, I can see everything that's in general. I can see everything that's in work from home resources. That is important to note if you have some information that is only relevant to a few people, such as like a leadership team or a top secret project, I don't know. The workaround for that until private channels are in GCC, which as I said, will be very shortly. The workaround is to create a group chat, which will function very similar to a channel if it was locked. If you have a leadership team of 3 or 4 people, I would recommend creating a group chat with just the 3 or 4 of you and naming that, Teams Training Leadership Team. And that way your materials can remain private to those that are relevant to that information. Alex, do we have any questions? I really appreciate your help. Helping me field.
Yeah, of course. And yes, so we have, is it external chat between agencies only, or could it include truly external contacts?
Truly external contacts. This is Mitch Jackson for Microsoft.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Mitch. And then what is a team code?
Okay, great question. So a team code, I'll show that example right now. So let's say that I'm holding a meeting and I want everyone in the meeting to join this particular team that I'm on. So what you can do is if you go to manage team, and then it gives you the option here. You can see everyone in the members and guests. And this is, again, the guest access. If it was provisioned, you would be able to see that here. As you can see, I am the owner of a team, but I can actually promote and demote different members if I want more people to be owners. A best practice, I do recommend having 3 owners. Sometimes people leave organizations quite suddenly, and to be totally in control of that information, it's best to have more than 1 owner. But let's say I'm having a training and I want everyone to be in this team. I go to settings, and you see this down here is team code. I can generate a team code and then pass that along to everyone who's on the call and say, hey, 6LD1UVJ is the code. And then they can go ahead and enter that. Down here, you see the join or create a team button. I would enter, copy and paste that here, and it would allow me to join the team. Great question. Again, that was in the manage team under settings, underneath team code. Alex, was that it for questions on Teams so far? I'll keep going if it was.
Yep, you're all good.
Okay, great. So here is, let's say, for example, I want Johanna to actually be an owner as well. So I would click the drop-down menu and make sure that Johanna was here. I would click this drop-down and select owner. And automatically, she's right there. She would get a notification that you've been, I don't know, promoted or changed to owner. I don't know the exact language that's used. But this is also the portal where I can add members. Just by searching their name. As long as they're in your Active Directory, they will show up here and you will be able to add them, thus prompting them getting the notification you've been added to a team. This is also where you can actually delete members from a team. You can remove them from the team, but something to note is anytime a user is added or deleted from a team, it does appear. I'll show what this looks like. So let's say Casey is no longer on a certain project team. So we're going to remove her. What happened here was it will post to the general mod administrator removed Casey from the team. Mod administrator made Johanna a team owner. So everything is very transparent, which, you know, just something to be mindful of if you're trying to be sneaky. Don't choose Teams. But that's something to note. And a lot of the times I say for best practices, anytime you have a project that's going to go more than, I don't know, 2 weeks, especially right now. I'm not really sure what the rule of thumb is given whatever is every organization is doing, but create a channel for that. And people like to know when what they're involved in. So I know that I check the channels I'm involved in the most, more than I check general necessarily. So project channels are a great idea if you want to delineate them by, you know, okay, we've got finance, marketing, HR, kind of think of it that way, and then subcategories below those for teams and channels. As you can see, we've got a tab, what's it called? Tab display up here as well, just like we did in chat. But there are a few other things that are available within a team and channel versus a chat. So we've got files, just like you saw, and these files can be organized in the channels. You can actually add folders and categorize them like you're very used to in SharePoint. Also, you can open up a file storage in SharePoint if you're really used to using SharePoint. You also have a wiki, which is basically just like a Wikipedia. It's a resource file. There's not really a huge amount of guidance as far as this can be whatever you want it to be. Very useful if you have a lot of links or a lot of resources that you want to share. You have a lot of things like work from home tips and tricks. The wiki is a great place to put those. But if you have a OneNote, you can actually add a tab here and you get a few more options. You can add OneNote here. You can add SharePoint. On the note for a shared calendar, if you guys are clicking on the plus sign in your environments, you should see a bright pink option that says website. And if you have a shared calendar in SharePoint, you would be able to go to SharePoint Online within your browser, copy and paste that shared calendar URL and add it to that tab, which would be here. It should be bright pink and say website. So that would give you the option to look at multiple calendars, and that's kind of the workaround with that. You can add full PowerPoint presentations, full workbooks, a document library from SharePoint. One of the things I want to touch on is, especially right now where things are a little bit hectic and maybe not everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing or what their job is working from home, Planner is an awesome Microsoft product and tool that allows you to hold people accountable. It gives you an opportunity to assign tasks to people, and then it gives you a really nice visual of a calendar of when everything is due and when everything is, what everyone has been assigned to. So I'm going to do a crisis mode planner, create new. You can also, if you're using Planner currently, you can actually upload an existing planner or existing plan. And you can see it just pinned it right here to the tab bar. And you can add buckets. So let's say we've got people that are going to do work from home best practices. That's a bucket. You can do, here's your general to do. You can add a new bucket that's telework FAQ. And you can add people, add tasks. So for example, you can add a task here, create deck to deliver Friday, so tomorrow, okay? Set the due date for tomorrow. Assign it to Diego and Johanna. And click add task. And that's going to trigger them to get an email notification. And they can actually go in when they get that task and they can do different categories. They can, when you select the task itself, it opens up another window here. I can add an attachment if I had a document I wanted them to finish or something I had already started. I can change the priority for it. I can add notes here and comments. And whenever they open this, if Johanna were to open her planner, she could select the task itself and mark it completed, in progress, or not done. And I can actually see the schedule of things that are done or that are due. It would be right here. Where did it just go? Oh, I guess I selected completed, so it's done. But it would show up in the schedule as a due date right here on the 20th. The charts view allows me to see what's been completed, what's late, and what's in progress. This is a great way to kind of keep your team held accountable. Also, it's a great way to stay organized, especially when things are really hectic. Any questions on Planner or any questions on the Teams button? I'm going to move into Calendar if not.
We do have a question saying, what happens to ownership of files uploaded by a removed team member?
So they will still exist there. If you shared a file, it would still exist in Teams and in SharePoint. The documentation I think would be a little bit more of a in-depth question. I don't know, Mitch, do you know any easy way to answer that one as far as what happens when people are removed to their files? I know they stay there.
Well, okay, so there's one scenario where it was shared peer-to-peer and it's in the user's OneDrive. In that case, an administrator will have to restore that file because the OneDrive will be removed along with the user. So they'll have to go in the compliance tool to restore the file. In the case where it's sitting in SharePoint, if the user is removed, the user doesn't own the SharePoint system. So all the people that still have access will still have access. So the only scenario where an administrator would have to be involved is if every user that had access was removed and a new person knew of the file, like it was in a link in an email or something along those lines, and then they would request the administrator go and provide access to that SharePoint site.
Awesome. Thank you, Mitch. That was beautifully said. Alex, any other questions?
Nope, that's all for now.
Okay. Awesome. I'll just show one more thing within Teams. I know we're having a lot of new announcements every day and things are changing rapidly. So one thing to note is you can, within the channels themselves, you can go ahead and I would click this A with the paintbrush and format a new post. You can start a new conversation or you can create an announcement. A conversation I would deem as a question or something that you would like some guidance on. A lot of ways that we use this internally within Microsoft is we start a conversation to crowdsource for resources. I did this today. I asked my team, hey, what is your absolute #1 go-to Teams resource that you love to put in front of customers? And I started a new conversation and they hit reply and that allowed me to kind of follow that thread. But let's say that I wanted to make an announcement. I didn't necessarily need a bunch of commentary on it. That would be like, hey, here's our employee of the month, or hey, there's lunch in the break room. Everyone grab one. Again, not necessarily relevant if you're working from home, but you see what I mean. You're afforded a little bit of customizability issues or features here. You can change the color of the background. You can add perhaps a team logo or a team picture if you wanted to here. This is another really big piece of creating morale, even whenever you're not in the same physical space. So an owner of the team can moderate this. They can allow everyone to reply, or they can only allow owners of the team to reply. If you think you might get any negative feedback on an announcement, I would always select to only let owners reply. And you can also post these different announcements and conversations in multiple channels. So you can just add different channels or teams. If you have like an all hands or announcement that needs to hit multiple channels, this is a great option here. Can do, all of the things that you're used to within Outlook and Microsoft Word. So that functionality should be relatively self-explanatory. Down here, you've got your options to attach documents either from your OneDrive or your personal device again. You've also got kind of the fun stuff, is what we call our GIFs and emojis. So I'm going to head into calendar. Alex, how are we doing?
Doing good.
All right. So lastly, something super critical as you transition from being in the office to working from home is how do we schedule meetings? There's two ways you can schedule Teams meetings. One of them is if you go to your Outlook, you should see in the ribbon, you should see new Teams meeting as a button. If you're not seeing that, you might want to check the drop-down menu that says new items, and it should be available within that. And that'll take you to just your basic, what you're used to in Outlook, that same format, type in the invitees, type in the meeting name, type the location. And it also provides within Outlook a join Teams meeting link. Or you can go to Teams itself and create a meeting. This is going to be your calendar, which is absolutely synced with your Outlook calendar. If you make a change in Outlook, it appears in Teams. If you make a change in Teams, it appears in Outlook. You can get a view of different months by selecting this drop-down menu. You can also view different displays here. You can do your work week, you can do the day, or you can do the whole week. If you've got personal things on the weekend or something that you want to be able to see, you can do the week as well. You've got two options within Teams. You can select Meet Now, which will allow you to start a meeting right now, and you just add who you want to join. Very similar to the group kind of FaceTime functionality within a group chat. You've also got this new meeting button, which is kind of where I'm going to explain. So this is very similar to Outlook functionality. You're going to title it. I'm going to say crisis mode recap. And I'm going to, if I wanted to, I could select a channel to meet in. If this was something I wanted everyone who was in that channel or team to be a part of, I can select a channel just by selecting this drop-down arrow and then selecting the channel within. And that meeting will get posted to the general or the channel in which you select. It'll get posted to that actual page, and people can join straight from there. But for this instance, I'm going to just invite Johanna to a one-on-one meeting. I'm going to make it for today. I'm going to make it for 4. Just like in Outlook, I do have scheduling assistant. I can see whenever Johanna's free. She can see when I'm free. This is a little bit of the shared calendar. If I had more people other than Johanna, it would still line up and I can see when they're free. Clearly, I'm not making my team meet enough. They're very independent, I guess. I'm going to make it a 30-minute meeting. Time zone here. I can add an agenda here. And if you do have rooms in your Outlook, they might pre-populate here, but from what I can tell, most agencies still need to do their request a room feature. But if you had a location, you could type it there. I'm going to click schedule. And she just got an invite, just like she would if you set up a meeting in Outlook. She can accept it, reject it, or put tentative. She gets the opportunity to RSVP. Let's say I know it's 3:40, but that meeting is at 4, and I really just need to meet right now. I can actually select chat with participants, and it will take me into a meeting chat. And I can say, Johanna, can we meet now? And that goes to, if I had more people in this meeting, it would go to everyone. She's typing, I can see. And you can see the difference between a chat here. I've got this little indicator. It looks like a calendar, like a Rolodex calendar kind of thing right here that indicates that it is a meeting chat. It is not just a one-on-one chat. And I also have this join button, which is not present in a chat itself. It's only present in meeting chat. So she's ready to go. I'm going to select join, make sure my camera is disabled. It takes me to the powder room, I like to call it. And this is where you can, by default, it's actually enabling it, but I'm going to disable my camera and I'm going to disable my mic so that you guys don't hear an echo. But this powder room is also where you can double check that your computer is the right speakers that you're going to be using and your microphone is the right one. And also very important here, make sure your camera is facing the right way because, I'm sure you guys can use your imaginations as to what can happen if you're supposed to be doing the front camera and you show the rear camera. So now that I know I'm all good to go, I'm going to select join now. And it takes me into the meeting. There's no waiting room unless otherwise specified, but there she is. So this is what a meeting environment would look like in Microsoft Teams. You can see that I have the option to turn on my video camera if I want to at any point in time in the meeting. I can also unmute myself. This is going to be my share tray. So I select this, and that's how I do desktop sharing. I'm in the browser, so you can't ignore this. It will not appear in your client. You'll be able to select which screen you'd like to share if you're using multiple screens. You can actually select which exact application you want to share. So let's say I just want to share PowerPoint, then I would just select PowerPoint and it would only share PowerPoint even if I switch screens while sharing my desktop, which is a great feature. You might also notice whenever you select the ellipses here that there is, again, this is the browser, but in your client, you should see an option that says blur background, which is really awesome. Let's, for those of you that are having to very quickly put together a home office all of a sudden this week, maybe you don't want everyone to know that it's in your wife's closet. And so you can blur, actually, it'll blur everything behind your shoulders and just put into focus your silhouette, which is a really cool feature that Teams allows. You've also got meeting conversation here in that dialog box. You also have the participants option. And from here, I would actually be able to invite someone or dial a number. In the search bar, I can search their name or their phone number. It would give me an option to add them, and it would ring them just like a cell phone or just like a call to a meeting. So that's your basic functionality within meetings. I'm only going to take 2 more minutes to briefly go over one more thing. How are we doing, Alex, for questions?
Yeah, we have a few. So the first one, if our mailboxes and calendar are still on-prem Exchange, how can I use calendars in Teams? I don't know if that's more of a Mitch question.
I don't think it should impact it at all. It should still sync,
Okay.
whether you're on premises or not. I don't think that that's going to be a discrepancy, but I might be wrong.
The Exchange hybrid connector has to be installed so it knows where to sync to. That's all you have to do.
Awesome. Thank you. And then in the team invite, can we see if the invitees accepted the invite? And will you
Yes.
still get the email? So yeah, and then will you still get the email when someone accepts the team meeting invite?
Yes, you will. Absolutely. You'll still get the notification. And then even if we had a big group of people, underneath their name, it would say accepted or declined or tentative. It would say the person's status here.
And then is there a way for a presenter to mute all other lines or a single line?
Yep. You would get that option here. You can see there's like the microphone with the line through it. So Johanna is muted, but if I wanted to unmute her, I could, or mute everyone, then I could. I actually almost did that to everyone in this meeting today.
Perfect. That's all for now.
Okay, great. So that's meetings, super, obviously high level, but also it gives you this option to give call quality. I'm going to say it was excellent, even though we didn't go off mute. One of the things lastly to point out is up here in the right-hand corner of your Teams environment, you will see either your headshot or initials. This is an important thing because a lot of people don't know that that is actually a button, and it took me a while to realize that it was a button. This is where you can do a lot of your personal settings. This is where you can change your presence. If you change to do not disturb, you will not be disturbed with notifications. So I do this often. I'm currently on do not disturb within my Microsoft tenant so that I don't get a notification if anyone messages me while I'm presenting my screen to you all. You can set a status message, and I think this is especially critical right now. Let's say that you've got 3 children at home who are not at school right now. I am teaching preschool from 12 to 1. So for example, if you had to step away from your computer for obviously, some things that are going on right now that we're not typically used to, this is a great example of a use case for why setting a status message is a really good option. And you can make that obviously change for 1 hour or today or this week if you want to. And what will happen is when people try to message you, it's very similar to an out of office, you will see their status message. Super helpful right now. You can also save messages. So let's say that this message here that Johanna sent me was really important. I would hit the ellipses and select save. It would go to this repository that I can select here. And that is a great way to follow things that maybe haven't been resolved or questions that you need to know the answer to that your team is looking for. And lastly, the settings button allows us to go to, you can choose your display. If you'd like Teams to be dark, which is really easy on the eyes. I know that as we're, using different screens and stuff, the dark method is great. High contrast for those of us that might need a little bit more differentiation. I think this one's really cool looking. I love highlighter yellow. I'll stay in the default for the majority of this. Privacy allows you to manage your priority access. So let's say that someone on your team, like your manager, needs to be able to access you even when you're on Do Not Disturb. You would be able to change that here and put their name in here. Again, over here, settings. Notifications. So this is super critical as you navigate from potentially, maybe you used to use Skype and now you're using Teams. Notifications are going to give you the ability to change when you are notified when something happens on Teams. So probably the most intense form of notifications is getting banner and email. So every time someone mentions me, I'm going to get a banner, which is the little box in my corner of my screen, and an email sent to my Outlook so that I'm very aware of, hey, someone has called me out by pressing that @ sign and then my name is behind it. I need to know what this is. So this is probably the most intense. Probably least intense is only showing in your activity feed, which is this bell up here, which will indicate if you have any notifications. It'll be a little red dot with a number associated with it, depending on how many you have. Also, notifications allows you to customize. One of the things that I like is missed activity emails. So as you're navigating this change, maybe every day you would like to see things that you maybe missed, and you can coordinate that. If you want to know immediately that you missed something, it can happen that way, or you can do it daily, every 8 hours, or turn this notification off. With that being said, guys, that's my crash course in Teams. Alex, do we have any last questions before I turn it over to Catherine?
Yep. So a question around captioning. My coworker has a caption option in the Teams meeting, but mine does not. Any ideas on how to get that available for everyone?
So I believe that it just depends on how recently you've updated your client, whether or not you have the live captioning. I think if you reset or restart your computer, that it might appear. I know that some of the time, the agencies that I work with, typically like one person will have it, one person won't. Once they restart their computer, they're able to do that. Mitch, was there any addition for that? I think it's just a matter of updating, from what I can tell.
That's correct.
Okay.
And then where does the information on the quality of a call go? The star ratings that show up at the end of the conference. Are enterprise admins privy to that?
If you are an enterprise admin, you should be able to access call quality. Depending on your licensing, it would be in your admin portal at portal.office.com.
Great, and that is all.
Okay. Awesome. Guys, if anything else occurs to you as we're navigating through Power Platform and VDI, please feel free to mention me in the chat if you'd like, and I will be here to answer any other questions on this Teams crash course. Thank you all for listening. Catherine, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abby. I get to take off my Johanna hat and put on my Power Platform hat. Yep. So I did want to share a couple slides just to make sure we're all on the same page before we kind of dive into this. So I know that everyone's kind of got this crisis management on their mind, especially as we're transitioning to a remote workforce. So this is how the Microsoft Power Platform may be useful to you in this process. So like I said, just to level set a little bit, the Power Platform includes all 4 of these tools you see here. The first is Power BI, which is our business analytics platform. And this will allow you to see your data, analyze it, and make some decisions and gather some insights quickly. Next is Power Apps, which is what today's main focus is going to be. And this is our low-code, no-code application development platform that allows you to take action right in the palm of your hand on a tablet or on your laptops as your employees are sitting at home. Next is the Power Automate, and this is our workflow engine. So this is when there's a mundane task or something you need to happen on a routine basis, and you can use Power Automate to connect these 2 tools and to run on click or at a regular interval, depending on how you set that up. The last one is Power Virtual Agents, which usually I don't hit on, but today I'm going to, just because this is something that we've been able to implement in a variety of different healthcare customers. I actually think I saw a link that the CDC just was able to implement a chatbot built on Microsoft Azure, but coming soon to the Government Community Cloud will be in low-code, no-code chatbot. It'll be a virtual agent that allow you to ask questions and navigate around your site or your application without using code. Unfortunately, today that's not available in the Government Community Cloud, but I can guarantee you that the product team is working rapidly to get that released. All of this is built on what you see on the bottom, which is the Common Data Service first and foremost, which is our data storage container that makes sure that your data is of high integrity and makes it useful for all of our Power Platform tools. But if you do not use the Common Data Service, which we highly recommend, we also have data connectors that can reach into your data wherever it sits today, whether that's Oracle databases, Salesforce. It doesn't really matter to us where you store your data. We've got data connectors that can pull that data into your applications, your Power BI source, or even run Power Automate. So, like I said, that's just kind of level set. And today we're going to be focusing on Power Apps and the Crisis Management Power App. So this is what the application template looks like today. And I do have a technical specialist here with me, Ruth Delaney, who's going to walk you through this and how to build it. But as you can see here, this is primarily focused on your internal employees so that they'll be able to go in and access any different information or input information that you might be trying to gather. I'm going to save most of that for Ruth. So when she does your demonstration, you'll actually be able to see it working live. Ruth will also walk through this, but they've got a variety of sites up and running today. Actually, this first one here is the step-by-step process. And as you can see there, it says it takes about 20-25 minutes to complete these steps. So from the moment you're able to download the solution to implementation is something you should be able to accomplish relatively quickly. We also have this solution set on GitHub. So for any of you IT folks that are familiar with the GitHub platform, as you can see there, the Crisis Communication Solution download pack is also on GitHub. So that's my speedy little once over, but I'm excited to turn it over to Ruth so she can show you exactly how this app looks and how you can use it today.
Thank you. Whoops. Hold on while I share my screen. Thank you, Catherine, for including me. Whoops, and here we go. So, so as Catherine mentioned, yes, in fact, I should say my name is Ruth Delaney. I am a Power Platform technical specialist, but really what you want to know about is this application. So we've built an application called the Crisis Communication application that you can download and you can customize and deploy for your organization to help you coordinate your own information sharing and team collaboration in response to obviously this evolving conditions in the time of crisis. It's very configurable and customizable, and you can make it look and feel any way you want. In fact, I'm using the version 1, which was out a week ago. We've already updated it to make it a little bit more visually appealing. So you can make some changes to it. So what this does is it provides users really with a single portal to help them be equipped with whatever information they might need, such as recommendations from global health authorities in our example, or the latest information from government officials and experts and company-specific content, maybe anything very relevant that I might need, or company news and links to channels. So as you can see, if I click it, and I wanted to point out that this application can run both standalone in a browser or on a mobile device. Or what I did is I also embedded it directly into my Teams environment. Since you just saw Teams, I thought it might be best to show it within that environment. So as that comes up, we'll get to see what's going on. And I don't know if you caught what Catherine said, but all of the data is managed behind the scenes, either in a common data storage service, which is our storage and management and secure management area, or you can manage it anywhere you want. So for this scenario, when you download it, the default is it shares all the data, it stores all that data in a SharePoint environment. So you'll notice this looks exactly the same as the browser version. I just wanted to show it to you within Teams. I can do things like look at emergency contacts. Yep, there you can see Catherine is an emergency contact. So this is just the default look and feel. You can do things like company news. So I put on an update for today, and if you want to get more information, you can read about, the COVID-19 field update, what we're doing to support our employees. We also have helpful tips, something like wash your hands, how to handle sneezing and coughing. You can have links. And again, this is all kind of the default out of the box. Actually, I probably should have clicked on the one that said Microsoft, because I don't think that was a real link, but here we go. This one goes to the CDC. And of course, you could put any links, etc., in here, as well as an FAQ. So very nice. A user can also, let me go back to here. I can also make a request, maybe to my central here. You notice I have a team called the Crisis Information Team. So I can make a request, I need help at home. I can also do things like, and I can go back to home, I can share my status. So if I know I'm working from home the rest of the week, I can go ahead and I can submit that information. I can pick a team or a group of people with whom I want to share it with. In this case, maybe I want to do everyone if this is important enough. You can even set up an auto response for your email that says you'll be away, both for internal messages, and this can be modified, of course, to say anything you want, or outside my organization. But it's kind of built right into the application when you download it and build it. So if I click on submit, you'll see that done. So if your crisis management team wants to alter the information that you saw in this application, there's an accompanied application called the Crisis Communication Admin. And from here, this is where I can do things like I can add new contacts, or let me do something like a FAQ. I'll add an FAQ. So let me create a new one, and I actually have one up here that I'm just going to copy. Are hand dryers effective in killing except I can't copy and paste very well, all from the CDs. Where were we? Right here. And let's do this. I'm just, and where do we want to rank that in the list of other facts we have? We'll put it at the top. And I'll click on save. So now you can see that message has now has been added, and I'm going to go back. So no matter which link you click on, or which one of these icons, I should say, you click on, you can create a new post. You can create company news, helpful tips, links, etc. Everything I do, I don't know if this, well, you could have seen this, but when I click on my posts, what you'll notice is that when I created that request that I need help at home, there was behind the scenes a Microsoft Flow, or a Microsoft Automate Flow workflow, which we call flows, that was created to automatically add this to the post so somebody can contact me, all with that information in here. And then the last component of this is a Power BI report. Now, this one isn't going to be very robust in the fact on the data side, but here's an example slowly for some reason. And I can show it standalone. Let's do that too here. Here you see the standalone report that shows me by location where my people are, how many are out of the office, how many are working from home, absences, etc. So everything you need all in here. And then in my wiki, I have put the link to where you can get both, and this is what it's going to look like. You can set up, or you can actually download the files to create this. It's a zip file with about 4 folders in it, and to create this. Now, Catherine did tell you, as well as the instructions, that it takes 20 to 25 minutes. I do not want to sugarcoat it. It will take longer than that, but it still will only take maybe an hour or 2. So when you think about what's going on in the world, that's not a lot of time to build something out that can look very nice. And like I said, there is a more visually appealing version on here as well. I think that is it. I'm trying to think and I'm just going to leave this up for a second.
Hey, Ruth, you did get a question in the chat. If you create a flow, will it appear in my flows or as a team flow? If I add my team as co-owners, will the flow continue to exist if I leave the organization and my account is deleted?
Well, in this case, it would still go to the team flow, even if your individual account were deleted.
I guess they're 2 separate questions too. So if you created a flow, will it appear in my flow or team flows? Doesn't it depend on what kind of flow you're creating?
Yes, yes. So you can create flows to do almost anything. Flows can connect to anything. So it can connect to anything from SharePoint to, Office 365, Dynamics 365 to non-Microsoft sources. So it really just depends on what that flow is doing. So if it's an individual flow that I create, and they can be executed in different ways. So you can create a flow. Typically, they're executed via a trigger, so some kind of action is kicking off that flow. In our case, the flow was kicked off when I clicked on that button to submit, ask for a request. But it could be anything from clicking a button to it could be a scheduled event to any type of event. And then the flow can access almost anything. So it really just depends on what it is. And in this case, we had the flow go back to the crisis information team or send information to the team. If you want to see, I can show you. Let's actually, this is kind of a good screen. Here is really behind the scenes, and I don't know if I should be taking the time to do this, but behind the scenes, this is the flow request that I just ran. You can see the time. I might have to refresh this. This might have been an old one, but it tells me when it succeeded. You can look at if you want to actually edit your flow. Behind the scenes, this is the tool set we use to edit and create flows. This is a little slow, I apologize. And I am using a demonstration environment, so that could be the reason for this. But what you will see is it's a very low code tooling environment, I guess you would call it, in which it's actually set up to look. Yeah, it's very slow here. Here we go. Let's try it again. Let's edit that. See if it comes up faster. Or if I just click on flows. Okay, well, anyway, you will be able to see a series of steps and how they're executed and what you can connect to. And really, it's limitless to what you can do within the Power Automate capability with flows. I hope I answered your question.
Awesome. Thanks, Ruth. And I do want to make sure we give enough time over to Mitch Jackson to share about Windows VDI. So feel free to drop any more questions in the chat if they come up. But otherwise, Mitch, I think the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Let me get sharing going. Okay, Alex, let me know when you can see my screen share.
We can see it. You're good to go.
Okay, we're here to talk a little bit about Windows Virtual Desktop. Normally, I need about an hour to go through the entire demo and process. So today, we're just going to cover a high level as well as a bunch of Q&A. If you guys want us to do a Teams demo of Windows Virtual Desktop just for you, we can do that. Just know that we'll need about an hour to an hour and a half to cover all the components. So at a very high level, everyone has used VDI. Almost every customer has some form of remote access solution that gives you a desktop or a published application. So really, what makes Windows Virtual Desktop different, right? And in this case, from a Citrix or from a VMware Horizon. And really what we're doing here is we're providing you Azure data center virtual machines so that you can scale and expand as large as you need, right? Or shrink down as small as you need. So you don't have to pre-build all your infrastructure like you normally would in a Citrix or a VMware environment. Additionally, we're providing pre-built templates right out of the box for Windows with Office 365 that really provides the absolute best experience. Customers that manage VDI spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get OneDrive and Outlook OSTs and all of those kinds of things working in a cost-effective manner. And in the case of Windows VDI, we procured some software from FS Logic that actually takes care of all of that. So it takes care of your profile roaming, all of your quality issues that you would normally see in a Windows 10 and Office 365 environment. So it really allows customers to just go, right, without spending thousands of hours developing an image, and getting it just right. Additionally, we made a few other changes as well. But first, I want to get out of the way. The first question people ask is, when is it available? And Windows Virtual Desktop is generally available worldwide. It's not just available, in the commercial cloud, but we also made it generally available inside the government cloud as well. Because again, it's just Azure virtual machines and an overlay that allows things to kind of pop out, right? From a scenario, sorry guys, from a scenario, we're really looking at regulated environments, i.e. the government, right? Your ability to be elastic, right? And scale small and large, kind of what we're doing right now, as well as host, bring your own device and other scenarios where you really don't own the desktop, but allow them to get access to your services, right? And for supported operating systems, it's the usual fare that you're used to seeing: Windows 10, Windows 7, Server 2016, 2012 R2. But there's something that's interesting about Windows Virtual Desktop that's unique with the other cloud. We wrote an operating system called Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session. So when you do Windows VDI in a competing platform, every time a Windows 10 image comes out, you literally have to build a virtual desktop template for each box. So if you have 100 virtual desktops available, then literally you have 100 copies of the operating system sitting cached, right, in your environment. And you can do things like containers and kind of copy one out, but ultimately there's a lot of waste and a lot of system resources leveraged just to host a virtual desktop environment. In our case, we wrote something called Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session, which does the same thing that our server operating systems do, which is allows multiple people to connect to Windows 10 instead of the just one remote desktop user that you would normally see out of a Windows product. And that makes it easier for everyone to generate images and maintain now a similar desktop image to what you're doing on your desktops and laptops, versus having something very unique or very snowflakey for your VDI. And that's one of the bigger challenges we see in government, is maintaining the images and patching and all of those kinds of things. So Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session is important, as well as we've highlighted, you can bring your own virtual machines from your own Azure subscription so that you don't actually have to generate a new image. So if you're already using Citrix or you're already using VMware Horizon and you're already happy with the image you're using, you can import that image as it is right into Azure and use that as your template. So if there's some kind of security accreditation or even specialized software, you don't have to rework that. So again, that supports that deploy and expand kind of scenario, right? Again, I want to harp on the Office 365 enhancements, again, for Outlook and OneDrive, as well as profile containers, which is not something we have available for our on-premise versions of our operating system. So that every time you log in, your profile literally goes into a separate container natively in Azure storage and is recalled each time, instead of what we used to do, which is roaming profiles where it has to be copied. And what that means for the average end user experience is a faster logon, regardless of the size of the profile. And that's really a big deal there, right? Deploy and scale in minutes. Not only are we talking about deploying and scaling, to hundreds or thousands or, tens of thousands of virtual machines, so you could support any size agency. We actually have some outside cases right now running with over 200,000 Windows virtual desktops for one specific customer. So we were talking about huge scale, but you can also scale around the country to any of our Azure data centers, right? And that's key for these virtual scenarios where you can really bring that virtual desktop as close to the end user as possible to provide a better experience, because we all know that latency is really what degrades the remote desktop experience. So if your user is in Texas or your user is in Chicago and they're trying to connect to a virtual desktop hosted in Ashburn, Virginia, Washington, D.C., or any of our other Azure data centers, that latency is going to be a bit too high to be useful on a day-to-day kind of experience. So what we allow is literally to run that to the closest Azure data center possible to cut your latency down as much as possible, right? And then again, we're the only platform that has the multi-session Windows 10 experience. So for all of our competitors, even in their cloud environments, unfortunately, you have to use individual Windows 10 desktops to provide a Windows 10 experience, which adds complexity and both upfront and operational cost, right? So really what we're trying to do is converge everything, right? We're trying to converge Office 365 and conditional access, so we can control from one pane of glass how you get access to a Windows virtual desktop, and of course log it in one place. You can use the same roles-based access controls that you see in Office 365 can then be reused for Windows virtual desktop. For Azure, by hosting in Azure, which is FedRAMP High, even our public environment, right? It makes compliance a lot easier for something that's more of a remote access, as well as it brings down cost, right? And then of course, we have this new capability called Reverse Connect. So a lot of our competing cloud offerings do not have a mechanism to connect back on premises. And in fact, our Windows Virtual Desktop, either through site-to-site VPN or ExpressRoute, can connect back to any on-premises applications that you have as fast as you need, depending upon what size of network connection and so on and so on. So that's a really important concept here that we get for a lot of cloud-based questions. Hey, that's nice. You gave me a desktop in Office. I can do that with a laptop. How do you get to my HR app, or how do you get to my, timesheet app and things along those lines, which are only available right inside of my government agency. So that's one of the neat things about Windows Virtual Desktop, right? And again, I've harped a bunch on the Windows 10 multi-session and how it bridges the gap between Windows Server and Windows 10, allowing multiple people to log on to the same Windows 10 box at the same time, reducing cost and operational complexity, right? And let's take a quick look at the architecture. What we're really doing is providing in the center here, Windows Virtual Desktop is really just providing the web access, diagnostics, gateway, and broker to virtual machines that are just hosted natively in Azure. There's no magic here. There's no special sauce other than the Windows 10 multi-session, and allows you to connect a remote desktop client, which is built into every version of Windows and downloadable for virtually every platform you could think of, including a random web browser to connect right in. And the advantage of this concept is we can provide any kind of desktop or any kind of infrastructure that you're looking for, right? We get a lot of questions around licensing. If you already own Office 365 or you already own Windows 10 Enterprise, you have a Windows Virtual Desktop license. And that's a really key component. So the only additional cost would be whatever infrastructure you're using at the time inside of Azure. So if you stand up a VM and you run it for 10 minutes, you are charged for 10 minutes of running that VM in Azure. And that's really big concept here, because in a lot of our competing platforms, there's a huge upfront cost because they have to build or deploy the infrastructure. Or if you build it yourself on premises, of course, you have to buy all that infrastructure and stand it up. In our case, you can just use what you need, right? Which then really opens us up for an unbelievable collaboration we put together, which is Citrix. So a lot of you on the phone probably have a Citrix environment today. So we natively support expanding your existing Citrix environment right into Windows Virtual Desktop, right? And that's a huge game changer for a lot of our customers in commercial, and we're starting to see a lot of interest in government as well. So we're talking about literally not reworking your environment, not changing what you're doing, not even changing your logon pages that you're hosting to get to your remote access environment. All you're really doing is using the reverse connect capabilities and the infrastructure inside of Azure to expand your environment. So if you're happy with what you have, but you need to double or triple the number of concurrent users, Windows Virtual Desktop is the quickest solution out there. Again, allowing you to expand. And in this case, the only thing that really changes is the client access, right? And after you scale to a certain point, Citrix then passes the additional requests into us, right? So it's the same thing, right? So Windows Virtual Desktop, as you can see, all we did is just change one to the other. That's all there really is to it. All right. And we're getting ready to announce VMware Horizon Cloud on Microsoft Azure. So if any of you guys are running VMware Horizon right now for your virtual desktops, very soon we'll actually have that. And if you're interested or require it right now, it is actually available in preview for customers. So again, reach out to either myself or Alexandria Cole, and we will get you connected to that preview program because, again, we all know what's going on with COVID, right? Thank you guys so very much. We would love to come out and demo and, in fact, kind of set you guys up with a 30-day trial of Windows Remote Desktop. Are there any questions?
Yeah, we have a few questions in the chat. So you kind of addressed this one, but Vinod asked, can I use Citrix image for Windows 10 multi-session?
No, you cannot. Windows 10 multi-session, you can use Citrix present, you can use Citrix with a Windows 10 multi-session image, but if you've already created your image in Citrix, when you expand into Windows Virtual Desktop, you'll have to reuse that image. So operationally, someone will have to rebuild that image on the new operating system to use it with Citrix, if that makes sense.
And then can multi-session have personalization for each user, like desktop, My Documents, etc.?
Yes. In fact, no different than personalization on server or personalization on Windows 10, we save the personalization as a part of the end user's profile. Not only can we do that, but we can also hide applications and things along those lines. So different items will show up on the start bar and things along those lines.
And then where can they find pricing for Windows Virtual Desktop?
Not a problem. Again, if you have Office 365 or Windows 10, the basic licensing charge is there. And I will put a direct link for the pricing for Windows Virtual Desktop in the window.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions, participants? All right. Well, then, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. We appreciate your time. Hope you found this helpful. We will drop a feedback form and then also post the 2 recordings into this chat.